We all know people who are just bursting with ambition and great ideas. But what's the real secret sauce that turns that ambition into actual success? We're about to dive into a fascinating story that shows how it all starts, and it's probably not where you think. And this quote right here, this is where it all begins. It perfectly sums up the starting line for so many of us. Let me introduce you to Gustavo. He's got the fire, he's got the desire, but all that energy is kind of all over the place. So picture this. Gustavo's just moved to a new city. His head is buzzing with business ideas, and he is so ready to make something happen. But like he said, things were just a bit of a mess. He had all the ingredients, but no recipe. And that's when he found his way to the Social Institute for the Young Entrepreneur. So what do you think their first move was? Did they ask for his business plan, a 5-year financial forecast, maybe a slick pitch deck? Well, the answer is definitely not what you're expecting. That's right. They didn't talk about a single business model. The very first thing they did was a deep dive into his Instagram. Now, that might sound a little superficial, right? But it was actually the most practical, hands-on way to start building the foundation for everything else that was going to follow. And this wasn't just some friendly advice. It was literally a day-one intervention. The steps were super clear and actionable. First, change that profile pic to something that screams founder, not just friend. Second, get rid of all the random, messy highlights. And third, if you want to post personal stuff, awesome. Just create a whole separate account for it. This was step 1 in shaping a professional identity. The whole philosophy behind this was simple but so powerful. Your professional identity isn't some costume you put on after you've made it. It's something you have to build from the ground up starting now. How you present yourself to the world doesn't just change how others see you, it fundamentally changes how you see yourself. But look, this Instagram makeover wasn't really about getting more likes. It was just the tip of the iceberg. It was a tangible first step that pointed to a much, much deeper belief they have about what it really takes to be an entrepreneur. For most of us, when we think entrepreneurship, we think of the technical stuff. You file some paperwork, you get a business license. In Brazil, this is often called getting a PJ, and boom, you're officially an entrepreneur. It's just seen as a box you have to check. But the Institute, they totally flip that on its head. They say that a license is just a piece of paper. Real entrepreneurship? Well, that's an attitude. It's a whole mindset, a way you operate in the world that has to come way before you ever think about the paperwork. So, what is this attitude really made of? Well, it boils down to 3 key things. First, you've got to develop the right mentality, one of discipline, of vision. Second, you have to be brutally honest with yourself about what you're willing to sacrifice. And third, you need to dig deep and understand the real reason you're chasing money in the first place. And that last one, understanding the purpose of money, that brings us to what is probably the single most critical question these mentors ask every single person who walks through their door. It's a question designed to cut through all the fluff. So simple, so direct, and it reveals everything. Why do you really want it? What's the engine that's actually driving all this ambition? Answering that question with total honesty, that's the real start of the journey. Now, the mentors are really clear about this. Ambition is a good thing. In fact, they call it gasoline. It's the fuel you absolutely have to even get the car started. The only problem is, for a lot of people, that fuel is pointed towards some pretty shallow destinations at first. And what are those typical destinations? When you ask people why, the first answers are almost always the same, right? I want to earn more. I want to travel. I want to show off a cool lifestyle. And hey, those things aren't bad, but they often don't have the depth to keep you going when things get really tough. Because when the challenges hit, and believe me, they always do, just wanting to travel is not going to be a powerful enough reason to get you out of bed. Having a deeper purpose, a why that's bigger than just you, that's what gives you the resilience to push through the failure and the exhaustion. Okay, so let's say you've done all the work. You've built your professional brand, you've got the right mindset, and you've found that deep, powerful why. You're all set, right? Well, there's one last test, and it's the one that trips up even the most ambitious people. They call it the process. And it's that frustrating, slow, often invisible period of just preparing. It's the waiting, the learning, the strengthening your foundation before you make your big move. It is the least sexy part of the entire journey, but it's arguably the most important. And here's the tough truth of it all. So many aspiring founders don't fail because their idea was bad or because they lacked passion. They fail because they have so much thirst, so much urgency to succeed, that they just can't bring themselves to patiently wait it out. They jump the gun long before they're actually ready. And that leaves us with the ultimate question for you to think about. It's not really about whether you have good ideas or enough ambition. We've seen that's just the ticket to get in the door. The real question is, once you find your why, do you have the patience and the strength to respect the journey? Can you endure the process?